And that was why his heart ached even more so as he looked at his soldiers. Thick veins popped up in his throat as he loudly yelled out, "I know all of this is just an illusion. Why don't you stop this charade and reveal yourself?" This illusion was incredibly lifelike. Because of that, there had been some moments that he dearly wished for this thing to be his true reality. However, there was no hiding the emptiness in his heart that seemed to grow larger and larger the longer he spent inside this illusion. That was why. "Hurry up!" Jinwoo loudly roared into the empty sky above, before finally realizing that a change had taken place. That time had frozen still. The gazes of every single ant soldier and their raised heads were directed towards him. For a moment there, he felt goosebumps break out on his skin from receiving all those mechanical stares. It was then, below his feet, the sovereign's territory, a jet-black shadow rapidly spread out. Everything touched by that shadow all vanished without exception. Baru, the soldiers, corpses, the ground, the sea, and finally, even the sky itself. Soon, the entire world became submerged in shadow. No, everything simply transformed into darkness instead. Only then did a weighty, heavy voice come at him from a place within this darkness. Jinwoo searched for the voice coming from an unknown direction and made his reply. "Are you telling me to stay trapped within this illusion you have created? I created this world." Jinwoo was about to reply with nonsense, but sensed something approach him. It was his rear. He quickly spun around. Sure enough, someone was walking closer from within the impenetrable darkness. This figure was kitted out in this exquisite black armor that no other shadow soldier could even hope to match. And he also emitted an utterly shocking amount of pressure that no other living being Jinwoo ever met possessed. He found it hard to open his mouth when he came face to face with this figure. Jinwoo finally realized then. He finally realized that this dark world he was standing in had been gently and invitingly embracing him all this time. So, this is the eternal rest, is it? Death? If so, the man who claimed this world on the other side of consciousness as his territory had to be. The man in the black armor slowly walked closer to Jinwoo. "You've been watching me." Eventually, the man stood right before Jinwoo and stared with those black eyes that seemed to suck everything in. Every word he spoke reverberated weightily within Jinwoo's soul. All those memories of him struggling hard to survive despite his weakness fleeted in and out of his mind like a revolving lantern, and made his heart palpitate faster. The figure reached down and grabbed Jinwoo's hand and placed it on his own armored chest. That's when Jinwoo's eyes widened in shock. He could definitely feel it beyond the thick metal armor plate. How could he not recognize it? How could he not recognize the vigorous pounding of the heart that he always got to hear by concentrating just a little bit harder? How could he not recognize the sounds of his second heart, the one where he had no clue where it was beating from? It was the black heart. The black heart was powerfully beating within this armored figure's chest. The figure quietly finished his words. He looked to his right. Suddenly, a massive tree the size of several dozen skyscrapers bound together rose up to pierce the heavens above. He looked to the other side next. When his head turned to the left, a maglev train suddenly emerged from the distant darkness and shot past his position in the blink of an eye. These two appeared out of nowhere simply because Jinwoo wished to see them. Although this power to create and change worlds was limited to the Shadow Sovereign's territory, Jinwoo still ended up letting out a sigh of admiration. This omnipotent power had become his now. Jinwoo briefly closed his eyes before opening them up, and that prompted a field of flowers to bloom before his feet and spread out in all directions. It was the same type of flower as the one the Shadow Sovereign created by changing the tree. Was this the result of the excellent perception, or because he was connected to the Shadow Sovereign? Jinwoo could sense the Sovereign feeling satisfied while looking at the field of flowers. The Sovereign shifted his gaze over to his human counterpart. The Shadow Sovereign officially introduced himself. Awesome, dignified presence oozed out from the Sovereign. However, Jinwoo didn't feel scared even though true death capable of reducing any living being into a shuddering mess was right before him. This being was him. He felt his emotions soar higher after meeting another version of himself. Finally, he could ask that one question stuck in his head, not wanting to let him go ever since the system became a part of his life. Why was I chosen? Why did the system choose him as the player? Was it because he managed to survive the dual dungeon that day? No, it couldn't have been. He believed that there had to be another reason. And this was the moment that his question might get an answer. The Shadow Sovereign slowly extended his hand towards Jinwoo's forehead. The moment that forefinger touched him, the entire world changed. The eyes and the ears of the Sovereign of Beastly Fangs confirmed the death of his prey. It could not sense any